Hey everybody, my name is Don. As he just said, I'm the manager of the Media Lab at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I guess broadly speaking, sort of our job is to do experiments and provocations at the intersection of art, technology, and the museum experience. And today I'm just going to share a little bit about some of the things we've done over the past 3 years, how we started, how we ended up where we are, and maybe weave some sort of thread through there that gets us thinking about. Different ways that we could use and work with museums. I'm sorry, I'm going to set a timer because I know we're a little bit low on time here. There we go. Awesome. Great. Okay, so the Media Lab started, like I said, 3 years ago, and we were trying to figure out, well, how there's all these new technologies, there's all this new stuff going on, and the way culture is changing is going to change the way that people want to use museums, the way they access information, the way they want to interact with each other is going through this radical shift. And how do we think about all of this stuff? So starting from the basics, what's great about museums? Well, we have really cool stuff. Like this is all stuff in the Metropolitan Museum of Art collection, except for one thing. You get a prize if you can tell me which thing is not in the S collection. And we also have amazing staff, like amazing amounts of expertise about just the vast range and the whole history of human culture as expressed through, the visual arts. But we're not a technology company, and we're not tuned into everything that's going on out in the world. So I'll start with one example. When we started the museum, when we started looking at stuff in the Media Lab, 3D printing was just coming on the scene about 3 years ago. MakerBot was really making waves, and at the same time, this really amazing new piece of software came out called 123D Catch, which basically is photogrammetry software, which means that you can go into a museum that has a photography policy that will allow you to, and you can take pictures of an object from all sides, like this, and you can load them into this software, and it'll generate this 3D model on your computer. The software is free, and it's easy to use. So basically what we realized is, oh my God, people are going to come into the museum, and they're going to start doing this. What is this going to mean? Similarly, around the same time, this really cool software called Tinkercad came out. Tinkercad is a web-based software that's also free to use that makes 3D modeling dead simple, right? It's like I can do it, and I'm really crap when it comes to 3D modeling, but I'm really aces with Tinkercad. So all these tools are coming together. That means that in the same way that 10 years ago, not that many people were making videos, but now everybody is uploading stuff off of their cell phone to YouTube. Now anybody can engage with 3D technology from scanning to printing, the whole soup to nuts, without a whole lot of expertise. So what we did is we worked with MakerBot Industries, who just came out with a really cool 3D printer. We brought in 30 digital artists into the museum. We wandered around the museum and we met with our awesome curators who told us stories about these objects, getting all these artists really enthusiastic about finding ways that they could take their own practice and elevate it through their incorporation and understanding of these art objects. We spent 3 days with lots of coffee and pizza, making a lot of crazy things and printing them up on this array of 8 3D printers that MakerBot brought to the table. We printed lots of two-faced mashups, and thank you very much. This is Leda and the Marcius by Jonathan Monahan. Jonathan took the head of Marcius and put it on the swan of Leda and the Swan, created this piece, which offended some art historians. Our curators really liked it, but some art historians and art critics weren't as thrilled about it. But this is a great conversation, I think, to be having. I mean, appropriation art isn't new, right? More importantly, we share all these models on this really cool website called Thingiverse. If you go to thingiverse.com/met, there's about 75 objects all made through this photogrammetry process. Some of them are not in great condition. Some models were not in great condition, but other people have downloaded them, improved them, and since re-uploaded them. People can take these models and mash them up and make new things and also share them on the site. So it's a real community. Just like you can make a YouTube response video, you can make a 3D model as a response to another one. So having done this hackathon, we started to develop this new model for what it means for us, anyways, to be a media lab inside an encyclopedic museum collection. And so we started to think of ourselves as this intersection point between museums and the New York City's amazing creative technology community. we decided that by letting go of some of the reins of control and by creating a space where museum staff and external creatives can come together sort of on equal footing to talk about their shared love of the collection to create new things. We can really produce a lot of value both for the museum and for the world by creating new stuff. So this has given us lots of cool opportunities to play with, lots of new toys, right? So Oculus Rift, a lot of people are talking about virtual reality. I've seen some museums who have sort of recreated the museum in a virtual world. And our museum, our staff wasn't so keen on that because they were like, well, we have the reality. We kind of like it better than what you have on the screen. So our interns, the Media Lab takes on about 12 interns every semester to do projects like this, where they're really encouraged to take their own vision and realize it with our help. They decided to take all of our 3D scans, mash them up, compress them, load them into architectural models of the museum, and instead of trying to recreate the museum space in virtual reality, to create new types of spaces. Imagine experiences that would be impossible in the real world, fantastical, dreamlike environments, utilizing our collection, utilizing models of our space to really sort of literally say, what if the museum was a different type of space? We've also taken the digital and imposed it on the real. We did this amazing project by combining our interns with the scholarly work that our Egyptian department was doing around the color of this Ptolemaic temple. I'm an Augustinian, forgive me. So I did not know this. The temple was not always beige sandstone, but it was really brightly and garishly colored. I think Egyptians had kind of tacky, I guess, right? Bad taste. This is two of our interns, Matt Felsen and Maria, who are students from ITP and Parsons. They're design technology students, working with our curator-in-chief, Diana Patch, and our curatorial fellow, Aaron Peters. Aaron Peters was studying the colors on the original Temple of Dendor, and our two students were projection mapping specialists. Basically, projection mapping, to describe it simply, is taking a video projection like this and warping it so that you could project onto an irregular shape and the projection still looks normal. And so we're projecting onto an irregularly shaped wall and finally matching every point of the video up so that the colors perfectly fit into all the crevices. We did this in about 16 weeks without any budget other than our own time and lots of pizza. And this is what the temple looks like when you really lock everything into place with the video. So it's a great example for us of how we were able to take a really contemporary technology, some really enthusiastic students who wanted a chance just to sit at the feet of these Egyptian scholars, learn deeply about the history of this temple, and express what they're learning in their own language, which is the language of technology and projection mapping, which was their forte. Similarly, we've been able to work with folks like the Center for Fine Print Research at the University of West of England. One of the reasons I really like to share this story is because it's a great example of ancient technology having an impact on contemporary technology. Sometimes we think of the relationship between technologies and museums. It's like technology is this modern stuff we're doing now, and we're going to help these old museums sort of get their act together and use our cool technology to teach the world about the museum. This is sort of the reverse. So if you guys are familiar with the Met, we have this William the Hippo, right? We have this famous little faience piece there. These researchers at the University of West England were looking into ceramics that could be 3D printed and that could be single firing and self-glazing, which means that you would 3D print layers of powder with a binder. You would reach into this bucket of powder, pull out this physical object, and put it in a kiln, and it would fire and form its own glaze. They researched a lot of contemporary materials and couldn't find anything that would actually work. Most ceramics, when you try to use it in a 3D printed process, when you put it in the kiln, it kind of disintegrates. It doesn't really hold up. So they came to the Met and they walked around the museum and they were looking at all these faience pieces. Now faience is the first ceramic. The Egyptians started using it, I don't know, 5,000 years ago? I'm making that up, I'm not an art historian. But it comes out, it starts out white, and as it dries, the salt sort of effloresces to the surface, and you put it in a kiln and it bakes and forms this blue glaze. And our friends Stephen and David realized that this original ceramic was the one material that they could use in a 3D printer that would actually be single firing, self-glazing. So this is a, a 3D scan of the eraser version from the store of R. William the Hippo, 3D printed in faience, which is the original Egyptian ceramic. Thank you very much. Another thing that we learn in the museum is, right, it's like if we want to engage this community of external people, well, we need to give them the kind of tools that they need to use our collection in the ways that they want to. So we created this tool called Scrapy. We didn't really have the infrastructure or promotion to create a real proper web API, so we built this thing called Scrapy. It's essentially a wrapper around our own website that just pulls our HTML data, turns it into JSON, which is the format that hackers like to use for data, and spits that back out. We put a rate limiter on it so it won't crash our website, because that is unfortunate. But it powered some really cool projects, such as this project by Iconoclash's this artist, Clement Valla. He used Scrapy. He searched for terms that match the word God or religion, and he mashed them up using Photoshop's panorama feature, which basically is a feature that would take two images that are supposed to be of what is mostly the same thing and stitches them together. He runs them through this software, but because we do our photography at the Met in a particular way, it really makes these very smooth matchups between these objects. And again, this happened like outside of the Met. Like, we didn't bring this artist in to do this. We made this tool available, and all of a sudden we look around and we start seeing these things start to pop up. We've also been able to engage with school programs to address more serious needs in the museum. We worked with Parsons on an access technology collaboration, bringing in 6 museum enthusiasts, people who are already coming to our museum and we had deep relationships with, who happen to have disabilities, and are people from the access technology community that were our contacts, and bringing them into classes to do semester-long workshops developing projects that can help people with disabilities around the museum. One of the best projects to come out of that was this accessible wayfinding project. Some students in the class went through our museum and they went through every single gallery with a big CSV file and marked up for every single room the light levels, relatively the crowd levels, noise levels, acoustics, and locations of all the stairs and the elevators. Made some really nice data viz out of that. The next semester we had an intern who came along and taught herself programming by implementing a wayfinding algorithm that would let you say, okay, well, I want to see these 5 objects in the museum, and I don't like loud rooms, and I don't like crowds, and I can't walk upstairs. And the software would plot out this path for you. And then the next semester, another group of interns came along, takes this algorithm, and builds a front end on top of it. So one of the things we try to do in the lab is provide tools, encourage sharing, and encourage reuse by building platforms that other people can build on top of. And sort of everyone sort of celebrates everybody else's work by building on it and collaborating. How can you find out about all these crazy projects? Well, you can come to the MediaLab Expo. It's going to be next Friday, so if you guys can take the train on up to New York City, we're going to be showing off 11 projects that we've been working on over the last 16 weeks. Some of those projects are the hip hop project. This basically, we combine the Rap Genius website, which is a database of rap lyrics, combined it, ran it through Scrapy, so we matched rap terms to art images and created sort of a real-time rap video auto-generation system. This should definitely be worth checking out. We've been doing a lot of work with Minecraft this semester. I don't know if any of you guys know 12-year-olds, but if you get them starting talking about Minecraft, you cannot shut them up. And so, and to be fair, like other museums are recreating, the British Museum in Minecraft and things like that. So this isn't new, but we're creating a sort of a more fun and gamified version of this filled with zombies and flesh-eating monsters. We're also been able to connect with Clo3D, which makes this fabulous software called Marvelous Designer. That's basically virtual fashion and fabric modeling software that lets you design patterns and fashions and place them over avatars. So we've been digging through our Costume Institute's collection, taking patterns out of those and modeling them on avatars. So we can take dresses that have to live in boxes forever, and we can animate them and show them in motion on top of on top of animated figures. And I really can't let any presentation go by without talking about this project just a little bit from last semester, because it explains so much of what the Media Lab is really all about. It's called technicing. So we have, in our African art collection, there's this Congo power figure. It would sit in the middle of a village and perform sort of a ritualistic function in the community. So one of our interns was we were thinking a lot about context, right? How you contextualize objects. It's sitting in a glass case. It's in a museum. It's not really, you're not really seeing, what this object was for. So he was thinking, well, what if I, recreate the environment through some sort of virtual reality thing and recreate this village, and I put this figure in it, people can see how it works. And well, that's okay, but what we're missing there is that you're just sort of recreating another type of theater that you're playing out. You're really not explaining the culture. So what he decided to do was to map the purpose, as he understood it, of those rituals to a technologically mediated experience. So what he created was a 3D printed head that would connect with your own brain when you wear a brain scanner. And as you meditate over this object, it starts to undulate and it cries tears of oil. So now it's not necessarily a pedagogical tool for art education, but I think it's an interesting meditation on the nature of contextualization in art history. I'm sorry that I went a little bit, I tend to babble. So I just wanted to show this really awesome picture. It's Metropolitan Triangle Garden. You can look it up on Vimeo. It's the best collection. It's the best video based on 3D models of a museum collection that I have ever seen. I'd like to conclude, since this is a science thing, with robots. We have been experimenting with robots and chocolate. We've been playing around a lot with 3D printing models and then casting and molding them in chocolate. Thank you very much. If you would like to know more about this stuff, let's totally hang out.